No, cold nights is not a thing here in Florida in the summer. It's like a hot air dryer just constantly blowing at you at all times.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am your host, Allie, joined today by my co-hosts, Carla and Becky. Hi, guys.
What's up?
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be recording with both of you today. I think we're going to be talking about something today that's going to be so incredibly helpful to people that are planning a Disney trip. But more than anything, I just feel like we haven't done this together in a little bit.
It's been a minute. It really has been a minute. I think that's the chaos of life, though. I'm in the season of graduation, so going 57 different directions at all time. It's been a minute.
Yeah, and I'm so excited now because it's officially, as we're recording this, it's officially summer break where we live. We have a couple of friends that they're still in school in the Upper East part of the country, but we're out and it's officially summer and we're feeling that in our house.
You guys can't see us, but we're all currently hiding in our closet from our kids.
Yeah. We all turned on our Zoom screens today to start to record, and we're literally all sitting in our closets. And it's like the only place where I think my kids will find me in the bathroom. They'll chase me down there, I think, before they'll chase me down here.
Oh gosh. Having any kind of privacy as a mom, it feels like it might be the only place that happens.
What are your kids? We have kids that are all different ages, right? So I wonder, like, are our summers super different? What do your kids do over the summer?
My kids are teenagers. And I'm not sure that they even know where we live at this point. They live out with their friends, which I personally love because, there are those people that are like, oh, remember the good old days when kids used to go out with their friends? Like my kids are always with their friends. They are social little beings and they have band camp this summer. So all three of them are involved in music or guard. And band camp is the whole entirety of our budget, of our time, everything of our summer.
Summer camps are expensive, like a Disney trip.
I'm actually glad that I'm out of that phase of feeling like I have to put my kids in summer camp because it is a money hog.
Yeah.
I remember them, I think it was like 2 summers ago, where it was finally like they could survive a little bit on their own. Like if I'm gone for a couple hours, they can feed themselves. They can put deodorant on. They can maybe brush their teeth. Sometimes I have to call and remind them. But right now, it is definitely, we're only 1 week into summer and I'm already feeling the pain of it. My kids are 12 and 13 and Becky and Allie already know this, but yesterday I had to go to Walmart to buy supplies for slime.
Yeah, I prefer camps to slime literally any day.
Well, I feel like they're of the age where they know you can't just put slime anywhere and you can't put slime on my countertops and my carpets. If you can do this right the first time, you might get to make slime again. We'll see.
Slime is like banned in my kids aren't even allowed to listen to this episode if they know that your kids are making slime because it's like the number one absolute, this is not happening in our house item. Whoever decided that slime was the new like Play-Doh for kids clearly doesn't have kids home for the summer. I'll tell you that because slime, you get it like one little drop of it in the wrong place. And then that, piece of your sofa is pink forever.
Speaking of being a different color, like Carla, are you still a Smurf?
Oh, I'm not. I scrubbed. So something went wrong with my slime because I made my own slime, of course, and I dyed my hands blue.
I feel like this is all just self-imposed punishment for you, though, because you went to the store and bought the glitter and bought the stuff. Like, that's a hard no for me.
I know.
My oldest daughter is at the age where she's been having sleepovers for, a few years now, but we're really now wading into the like slumber party territory, which is different in my opinion than a sleepover. So last night we were leaving her dance and I swear I said I was walking down the hallway and I was like Velcro for kids. They just kept sticking to me like as I was walking down the hall. And somehow when I left, I had six kids get in my car that were not my own.
But that goes back again to like the good old days when kids would just do random things. Like kids are still kids. And oh my gosh, Carly, you're talking about kids doing these crazy things and like one touching somebody with slime makes me want to literally vomit. But when you guys are talking about them doing things that they're not supposed to, did any of your kids stick a quarter up their nose or like swallow a penny or any of those
I
things?
for sure swallowed a penny. My kids haven't yet, but I had like x-rays. My mom was freaked out. I had to watch my poop for like a month.
Was it this year, Carla?
It was last year. It was during COVID. I got really bored. I was like 12 or something.
My daughter did swallow a small button, and I can remember her just like scream crying, saying that she made a bad choice. She was pretending they were Cheerios.
No, Macy is my one that's graduating and she graduates in a couple days. Like, oh my gosh, how does life go so stinking fast? But she is my one kid who swallowed a quarter and the whole doctor x-ray whole thing. And it's just like, inevitably, it's just going to be, you have to wait it out.
Yeah.
Unless it's something crazy like a magnet, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
ugh.
I love all of it. When I was collecting kids, we were laughing. It is hard. I mean, I do have 3 children, so do you, Becky, and even just having 2 that are home to fight with one another, I mean, that gets real this time of year. So keeping them busy is super important, but I do love summer. Like I love this time with them. And I saw that meme that said, you only get 18 summers with your kids, or I love it. I like collecting the kids, and even the fighting isn't so bad.
I love them being home too. The one thing I don't love about them being home right now, I love them bringing their friends around. They're such a good group of kids. It's pretty awesome to watch who they're choosing and letting them figure these things out for themselves. For Mother's Day, I got an ice maker because I love like that crunchy ice, Carla, like Epcot ice.
Oh, yes.
So I got an ice maker. It was the one thing that I wanted. And now that they're home, my ice maker is always empty. I never get to have my own ice because they fill their water bottles up with it. It's just like, what does mom ever get for them?
I feel that.
Do you have that nugget ice?
It's like the crunchy ice.
Yeah, we have one of those.
Yeah, nugget ice. I have one. Becky, can you even make out what your teenagers and your tweenager is saying these days? Because when I'm around my kids and their friends, like I don't even know half the words that they're saying.
Oh my gosh, Allie, I had to use you as an example because I'm listening to Laker play video games and he's talking to his friends. He has headphones on, so of course he's like screaming because he doesn't understand how loud he is. And he's like, that's just Skibbity Toilet in Ohio. And I'm like, what?
What? Ohio.
I don't know. I don't know, but apparently Skibbity Toilet in Ohio is a thing.
Ohio, it is a thing.
Did I just like parent swear?
Yeah, you probably did. Yeah,
Guys, my kid mews.
Oh,
that's
Like not moos, not meows, he mews. And if I don't mew back, it's like, Mom, where are you? Like, are you alive, Mom? It's like my proof of life and I have to mew back.
Yeah, I saw other moms from my area talking about that this week online, the same exact thing. And I was laughing because you had already mentioned it to me. So I was like, well, that's made it up to Ohio.
or Riz. Do you have Riz?
The Ohio.
In Ohio.
Skibbity Toilet, Ohio.
Nobody tells you this when you have kids. Nobody tells you this. Nobody preps you for this. The fact that you aren't going to speak the same language for a few years.
Absolutely.
My daughter got her cast removed this week. So she started off her summer with a cast on. And like the last day of school, everybody signed it, right? A kid put balls on her cast. Balls. Right underneath Taylor Swift's name.
Wow.
It's like, I just don't get it. But I guess I was the same way.
For sure. Are you kidding me? For sure.
Doctor was like, do you want to keep it? I'm like, no, I don't want to keep her stinky cast. Thank you.
Yeah, that's so funny to me. I remember my brother had an ankle cast and we did keep it. I feel like it was like put on a shelf in my basement, like a trophy for a little while. But I remember that it didn't smell good. But those are the things. So what you didn't know about being a parent, it kind of leans into today's topic. I mean, I could talk about summer momming. I know a lot of our listeners are moms or kids of moms. And so this is really relatable. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about all of the things you wish you knew before you took your Disney trip. I feel like even me, because we take such different types of trips every time we go, like the people we're with and the goal of the trip, I even feel like on the back end of a lot of my trips, I'm thinking, oh, I wish I would have known this or done this differently, right? Like, and especially clients that go for their first trip, there's so many things that you don't know until you know. And you can try to prepare as much as you can, but if you have a certain set of skills and knowledge, it does make things just so much easier. So much of the anxiety that goes into planning a first trip, you've never been, you don't know the lay of the land or the way things work, is because you don't know how you're getting somewhere or what it looks like when you do get somewhere. And so today we're going to be talking about all those things you wish you knew before you went so that you will know before you go.
I was going to say, and this is definitely catering to first timers, but my gosh, I feel like every time I go to Disney, and I go a lot, Becky, you go a lot, Allie, you go a lot. I feel like we learn something new almost every single time, or something's changing, or having to adapt to like the new DAS pass. Just it's all evolving before our eyes, and it's just constantly, well, it's constantly evolving.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, I want to again thank all of you for listening, subscribing. If you haven't already subscribed, please, I don't know what you're waiting for. It's summer. Go ahead and stop what you're doing. Turn on downloads for this show. That helps us so much. When you turn on your automatic downloads, this show hits wherever you listen right when it drops. You won't miss a thing, and it helps us. It's so easy. And again, I want to thank our Patreon subscribers for weighing in on all of our recent polls that we've been having and just helping us come up with ideas and make decisions about our upcoming content. More moms helping moms, and that's really what we're all about. You know, we're all moms surviving summer. So if you want to go the extra mile, please just stop and leave us a 5-star review. Anywhere you're listening, recently JDM Gloden 123 said, I recommend this podcast. It's absolutely amazing. So much to learn from all this. All the hosts are great and interesting. I love that you said that. Thank you so much. I do think we're interesting. I think we all come with such a different point of view, and that's what's great about it. You know, especially the three of us we are in such a stair step of, I mean, really all 5 of us hosts are, but we're in this stair step of life and coming from different points of view, but still experiencing so many of the same things, which has been really fun, I think. Before we dive right in to what you wish you knew before you took your Disney vacation, we're going to take a quick break and be right back.
Hi, Smarties. Carla here from the podcast. You hear us talking about the right way to do Disney, but let's be honest, taking notes isn't exactly easy while you're busy momming and on the go. There's an easy way to get all of those tips organized to simplify your vacation. Check out our 4-part guide bundle available now in our Patreon shop. Also, if getting guides is something you like to help with your planning, joining our Patreon as a Diamond Mine subscriber gives you a new Disney guide every month. Either way, we have got your back on knowing how to plan your park days so you feel like the expert before you walk in the gates.
All right, we are back, and we are going to be diving into what big mistakes you might make because you didn't know something before you traveled. You know, how can we alleviate some of the tension ahead of your first trip or first trip of its kind? Maybe you've been before, but you're taking an adult trip or a work trip or a solo parent and child trip or something different than you've maybe experienced before. Because I really do think every type of trip has a different type of skill set that you need. So what's a big mistake that y'all have made when you've gone to Disney?
I think my biggest one on my first Disney trip was way overpacking. I did that on my first cruise too. I think Sean and I, it was just the two of us, and we each took a full-size suitcase plus a carry-on plus a personal item. And we were there for 7 days. It's like, we didn't need that much stuff. You can really just go to Disney and make sure you have the essentials. That we have episodes to talk about those kinds of things, but I way overpacked and I paid for that luggage.
Yeah. Do you guys fly the airlines where you have to pay for extra luggage and weight and things, or do you fly where it's included? Because we're taking a trip in June. My family's heading down to Disney World, and I just recently bought our flights. And actually, as this is released, it's June. So this month, I compared an airline where, you know, all that stuff is not included and then added it all in like the bundle package versus an airline that is all included. And it was the same amount, expensive, you know, the same amount, but it looks less expensive ahead of time. But once you add in your luggage and stuff, like it's the same.
It can definitely add up. We have I always price things out. I am literally the person who refuses to pay like the going rate on anything. So I'm always going to price out whatever the cheapest option is. And they get you. Spirit sometimes looks so incredibly cheap, but then you have to pay to choose your seat and you have to pay to take a carry-on and you have to pay to check a bag. And it's like all of a sudden this $59 airfare is now $200 per person per way. And it's like, what do you do?
Might as well have flown Southwest.
Right. So yeah, overpacking. That's a funny one for me because we pack a lot. My kids, we've talked about it on the show. I'm gonna put some pictures on Patreon because we go really over the top with them sometimes. I look at our luggage and I'm like, we could have a whole bag of just like ears and accessories for the kids. I don't know. Is that a mistake or is that just really good preparation?
I think if you're going to be doing the whole Disney bounding, like your guys' family outfits are always so freaking cute and you accessorize perfectly for every single park day. If you're doing that, it totally makes sense. But when we were doing it, it was me and Sean, two adults who were not into like, I didn't have lounge flies, I didn't have the ears, I didn't have those things yet. And we were taking so much excessive stuff. Like I brought full size shampoo bottle and conditioner. And it's just like, know that those things are included in your room and you don't have to take all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Disney has the shampoo, conditioner, those dispensers, and the product that they use is amazing. Do not bring full. I'm over here trying to imagine what you and Sean both stuffed into full-size luggage.
Well, we took like multiple pairs of denim Levi's because what if it's cold, but then you take shorts and then you take 15 different shirts because what if you need to change your shirt in the middle of the day and then you have to have different hoodies and you're going to Florida. Our first time coming to Florida, I literally walked out of the MCO airport and I wore glasses at the time, contacts and glasses, and I walked out and the humidity completely fogged me in. I had no idea what to expect on weather. So we literally prepared for summer, but cold nights. We did not need to bring a bunch of denim jeans and excessive hoodies.
No, cold nights is not a thing here in Florida in the summer. I looked at my phone last night and it was like 84 at 10:30. It's like a hot air dryer just constantly blowing at you at all times.
It's been cold here, like really cold. We screwed up our pool maintenance somehow, and our whole pool turned green, really green, like lime green, like slime. It looked like Carla's kid's slime. And so we can't swim in it right now, but it's been in the 60s. So we weren't swimming anyway. So yeah, don't overpack. Definitely watch your weather. I think one thing that really stresses people out is like when they take that December trip, because they're like, what if it's cold? What if it's hot? And layers are definitely important. But I think one layer, bring a sweatshirt that you wear more than once. Do you agree?
I love that Allie is giving this advice.
What?
Is Allie really bringing one sweatshirt?
What are you saying?
She's bringing a sweatshirt for breakfast. She's changing her shirt in the monorail. She's probably changing her sweatshirt if it's a sweatshirt on the monorail going to the next park because it doesn't match.
I'm not probably doing that. I'm definitely doing that. But
for sure doing
listeners should not do that. I have talked about my anxiety surrounding wearing like wrong park clothing. I just can't do it. Like I can't wear a monorail sweatshirt at Animal Kingdom. It feels so wrong and out of place. And I have to change, but you shouldn't. Like listeners that are going should not breathe in my neurotic view of what you need to be wearing, and they should bring one layer. But yeah, I probably will make that mistake until I die because I can't be in the wrong park. I did go on our team trip. You guys, neither of you were there, but I did go to one of the parks dressed incorrectly and it killed me. But I did also change on the Skyliner. We went to Hollywood Studios for May the 4th and I did like a Leia Disney bound and I completely changed. And when I got off the Skyliner at Epcot, I was like in a mini bound. So yeah, it's hard for me.
Magic transformation. Go in as one thing and come out as another thing.
I did. Yeah, I did. But listeners shouldn't have to do that. But that's, a window into me. And
but I will say that what you wear does matter. And depending on the seasons, you have to be like in the summer, you're in survival mode at Disney. You need to wear whatever's going to be comfortable, whatever shoes. I always love when people online are like, what shoes get you through 20,000 steps at Disney? It's like, nobody else is going to be able to answer that question for you. You got to figure out like what's not going to blister and, what's not going to chafe. And you got to figure out how you're going to eliminate loads of sweat for that day. So you're kind of in survival mode, whereas in the winter you do have to have options. Yeah, it's oddly cold here in the winters in Florida at night and in the mornings where it's, only 65 degrees, but for some reason it feels, and maybe it's just me because I'm a Floridian, but it feels like it's 45. It's damp and you just need that extra layer. If you want to be cute for pictures, be cute, but bring a backup and bring backup shoes and just basically do whatever you need to do to make it for potentially 10 to 12 hours in amusement park.
Yeah, you're definitely going to leave your resort looking one way and returning looking and feeling a completely different way.
Oh yeah, even if it's not your clothes, it's the humidity. Like the humidity is going to do something to your hair. It's inevitable.
And your face.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a time, and maybe Katie can put the picture up on socials, but I went to Magic Kingdom with Katie and her girls. I think it was last summer. It was either last summer or the summer before. And she let them get their face painted. And it was so cute. Her middle daughter had this little, like, I want to say it was like a superhero face or whatever. But by the end of it, her face was like at her chin. And it was Disney before and Disney after. Disney before in summer, if you're wearing like mascara and foundation and all the things, and then your face after a day at Disney. That's what it's like, though.
Yeah, you have to know the weather when you're going. I think that's the biggest part of this conversation is that Florida weather is unpredictable. And so people stress about how to plan for it. Bearing comfort in mind is the number one thing because you're going to think it's about one thing. You might think it's about perfect theming or the perfect outfit or the perfect photo, but all that's going to go out the window by the end of the day, depending on what time of year you're going. And it's just so important that you get that right. That also reminds me of another thing. And this is a mistake I make almost every time I go. It catches me off guard when I'm in the parks, when I'm not at the pool or we're not at the beach, but sunscreen, like you're out in that Florida heat all day and remembering to put sunscreen on like the part in your hair and on your face and on the parts of your body that are out. I don't know why that doesn't feel like common sense to me, but because it doesn't to me, it probably doesn't to somebody else. I'm constantly like, oh, did anybody bring sunscreen because I'm not at the beach or the pool? So remembering that you're still in that heat and you're still in that exposure is really important too. Something else, and I think this might be the biggest thing, is knowing a little bit ahead of time, number one, the layout of the parks. Having an idea of, you don't have to sit and study the maps and like be a professional, but also understanding a little bit of where things are, where the important things to you are, and understanding that your My Disney Experience app not only is going to be a huge part of making your trip successful, but right when you open it, it's going to open to the map where you are. When you're at home and you open your phone, you open your map, it's going to put you at Magic Kingdom. That's always where it opens to. But when you're at Disney, it opens to where you are in Disney World, which is also really nice.
Yeah, the app in of itself, like familiarize yourself with the app. Just knowing that map feature alone makes that app incredibly worth the download. But can you even get to a Disney park vacation trip at all without the app at this point? Like the app is fundamental to every Disney trip.
Lifeline.
Yeah, connect yourself to that app, familiarize yourself with the app, and know that map feature is there because it is a game changer in knowing where bathrooms are, knowing where characters are. And there's so much to the app. We could really do its own conversation around the app, but just knowing that the app is there and such a valuable tool, it's fabulous.
Yeah, I've said before that I took friends to Disney once that literally at the end of the trip said, if you hadn't have been here, we wouldn't have ridden one ride. We wouldn't have eaten one thing. They were like, we would have been so completely confused. And that honestly made me think, like, I wonder how many people feel that way, because if you don't know, you need to mobile order food inside the My Disney Experience app, right? Like if you try to walk up to Woody's lunchbox and just order, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Can you even walk up to Woody's at this point, or is it all mobile order? You can.
Yeah, but it's just another line at that point.
Yeah, and sometimes it's an extremely long line, right? And so, knowing that you can pre-order inside your app, predict when you might be hungry, play around with that feature, knowing, Becky, you sort of mentioned bathrooms, you can filter the map in your app with a little drop down toggle to so many things that are going to save your vacation. And you're going to know what has a wait time, where you should be going next. It's going to direct so many things. And I think a huge mistake people make is not understanding the navigation of that app ahead of the trip. Playing inside the My Disney Experience is crucial to your first vacation.
Speaking of navigation in and of itself, like the map is super helpful, but coming from Disneyland, a Disneyland girl my whole life until I was an adult, I thought that it was mind-blowing to me to realize how far apart the parks are. And you can kind of see that in the app, seeing what the layout is, how Main Street goes to the hub, and what the layout of the land is. I swear that the Haunted Mansion is in the wrong place because it's not supposed to be where it is in Disney World. It's supposed to be where it is in Disneyland. And having the app can help you kind of get the lay of the land and just have you not quite as confused when you're in the moment of deciding what you're going to do when you're in the parks.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit, and we did an episode a long time ago on understanding Genie Plus lightning lanes, individual lightning lanes, and virtual queues. In a nutshell, what is the most important thing for a listener on a first trip?
I would say that you cannot stand in line to ride two of the hottest rides right now, which are Tron and Guardians of the Galaxy. They will turn you away if you do not either have an individual lightning lane or a virtual queue. One of those you pay for, one of those is completely free to everybody.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the most intimidating pieces of Disney travel is the virtual queue. I mean, even me, I've been getting in virtual queues for what, 4 years now since they started doing them. I don't think I've ever missed one. And I'm still like so anxious, heart racing every single time I go to get in one. It's a scary little moment. And if you don't realize that it's something you have to do, if you realize that even 2 seconds too late in the day, you're not getting one. They go away. The virtual queue is full in less than 10 seconds. So you have to know, you have to get on at 7 a.m. and you have to know how to efficiently snag a spot in the virtual queue. And Carla, to your point, what you just said, they'll turn you away. I have seen, how many times have you been at the front of Guardians and there are families that are like, no, we just want to ride it. We can't get in line. And the cast members are like, no, I'm sorry. There's no more lightning lanes for the day. Virtual queues are closed. And those families are just out of luck. And it may be their only Epcot day. It may be their only Disney experience ever. And they're not going to ride the best attraction in all of Disney World because they don't realize that you can't just get in line.
I think that right along with the conversation of this, though, is another thing that people don't realize, which if something goes wrong, if you miss your virtual queue, you miss your virtual queue. But if, for instance, you got your virtual queue and then you realize you accidentally didn't grab one of your kids into your virtual queue when you were getting your reservation, talk to Disney about it. They want to help you make things right. It's not going to be, we can give you a virtual queue if you didn't get one, but if you make a mistake or something's not working out right, maybe your dining is interfering with your virtual queue return time or anything along those lines, Disney really does want you to have a good experience. So just talk to those cast members.
Yeah, the dining one is such an important one because I hear and see all the time people saying, oh, my virtual queue is going to run right into lunch. We booked our dining 60 days before we're at this park, right? We've had our lunch reservation long before we've had our virtual queue return time. And so those are those things that you really don't have to, that's anxiety inducing, and it really does not need to be. Those are the things that can be fixed, that can be worked around. You're not going to have to sacrifice lunch or Tron. You're going to be able to do both as long as you did get in a virtual queue or purchase an individual lightning lane. And then the other thing is that you can't budget Genie Plus right now the way that it is. It's purchased day by day. You never know how much it's going to cost. And of course, the cost does rise with more popular times of the year and things like that. So not being able to anticipate that is something you really need to bear in mind, because I do think Genie Plus is such an important part of enjoying your day, especially with little ones.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to know that you don't have to purchase Genie Plus to buy individual lightning lanes. That those are two separate things that I feel like I just figured that out, I don't know, like 8 months ago. I always thought that you had to buy the Genie Plus to then buy additional Tron or Guardians or whatever. And it doesn't work like that. You can buy Genie and not have access to those rides other than through virtual queue. Or if you don't want to do the Genie, but you for sure want to ride those individual lightning lane rides, and you have the option to do so and just to spend the money on those specific rides by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And knowing ahead of your trip which attractions are individual lightning lanes, because we have seen that change. It doesn't change very often, but Disney does hold the right to change that at any time. So recognizing which attractions are the current individual lightning lanes at each park is really important. So think of it like Genie Plus, and the purchase of that is going to give you access to the vast majority of the lightning lanes, which is front of line access. And then that separate purchase, individual lightning lane, think of it as something completely different. It's not Genie Plus. It's not regular lightning lane. They're not one and the same. You don't have to have one to have the other. That is such a good point, because some families might not budget in buying Genie Plus for the entire day, but riding Tron is the one thing their kids want to do. You can do that. You can just buy Tron and forget about Genie. So understanding just the difference in all of those things. And we do have an episode on navigating Genie Plus and individual lightning lanes and virtual queues from early on when we started the podcast that you could definitely listen to and reach out to your travel agent if you have questions. But understanding those things, probably one of the most vital pieces of Disney planning at this point.
Yeah. And I think you had also brought up about, we were talking about the overlapping, potential overlapping, right? And just knowing about ADRs in general, that ADRs are advanced dining reservations, and you're setting your times that you want to sit down and have a reserved meal, especially if you're wanting some of those high demand restaurants. ADRs is a big part of that conversation and knowing what those windows are.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that when I was younger, my family of four could have walked up to Primetime Cafe at Hollywood Studios and said, table for four, and they probably could have seated us at that point. You cannot do that anymore. I mean, maybe you'll get really lucky when a restaurant just opens for the day and you might get a walk-up list or something, but I do not bank on that. If you want to sit and eat, you have to have a reservation 60 days in advance. You have to know where you're going. And it does add a layer of, okay, we need to prepare. Park pass reservations are no longer a thing at Disney World. And so some people like the flexibility of just being able to decide what park they're going to go to once they're on their vacation, which you can do. But if you're planning on sitting and eating, you have to have a better grasp on where you're going to be each day. Because if you want to eat at Cinderella's Royal Table at Magic Kingdom, you got to know what day you're going to be at Magic Kingdom, because you have to snag that reservation 60 days ahead of your arrival.
I also love that Disney recently updated the ADRs, that you can now cancel them much closer to your reservation than you could ever do before. It's 2 hours before at this point.
It is, but I will tell you, this is such a good point that you just brought up. This is something you have to know, because I made a huge mistake. We worked together with a bunch of ladies and we took a trip.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we took a trip, and like I said, neither of you were there, but there were maybe 12 of us there at our peak moment, which was really fun. And we had a dinner reservation that we decided we were having too much fun where we were. We didn't want to go. And I am the one who had booked the reservations and had them all under my account. And I forgot to cancel the dinner. And wouldn't you know, I had never done that before, and I didn't know how stickler it was. And I got a notification. I was charged $120 right after my reservation passed, because we were a no-show. Complete rookie error, charged $120. They're sticklers about it. You're going to get charged a no-show fee, and it's $10 per person. So it is a 2-hour window. And that's great, because it used to be 24 hours. Now it's 2 hours. If you're not going to make a reservation, that happens all the time. Like, you change plans once you're on your Disney trip all the time, like we did. But you have to know your plans by 2 hours ahead.
Actually, the same thing happened to me last weekend. We had a girls' trip and I booked a couple of reservations. And sure enough, I thought I canceled it because I was going through the process, but then I guess I didn't confirm it. Same thing. $60.
Yeah, you got to be mindful of the 60-day mark and the 2-hour cancellation mark. Both things are really important. But
funny though, like, we know better and we still just did this in the last month.
Both of us, yeah. And mine was unfortunately for a group of 12. Now people are wondering how I got a reservation for a group of 12. But I did, and it was awesome. But yeah, we didn't even go to it. So understanding that, because again, just like I've seen poor families at the front of, Flight of Passage or Guardians trying to ride without the lightning lane and just not being able to. I've seen people walk up to restaurants dying to eat there. Cinderella's Royal Table is a good example. They walk up with their daughter. She can't wait to see the princesses. They're trying to find out what time they can eat there that day, and they're out of luck. I mean, there's no way. You're not getting in that day in most cases.
Yeah.
I will say though, and I feel like this is because of the new 2-hour cancellation rule, that there are more last minute available reservations. So again, knowing how to navigate that in the app and being able to go in, I think there's even a little timestamp that says now. So you can find reservations that are available right now. There are some that are even available as a walk-up list. There are options. So if you are finding yourself and your family hungry and needing a break, needing air condition, those options are there if you know how to find them.
Yeah.
They might not be for Cinderella's Royal Table, but there are some pretty good last minute reservations.
Yeah. And I actually think you could score a Cinderella's Royal Table. Like, I do think that you can score last minute anything, except for dummies like you and me that forget to cancel our reservations so somebody else can snag them. Another tip that I would have is I talk all the time about how important the resort is to me, even if it's just a place. You have a wide spectrum of people going to Disney World. You have people that say, I'm just staying at my resort. It's a place to lay my head. We're only there to sleep. Or you have the people like me that are like, the resort is everything to me. The view and location are everything to me. And on that spectrum, it doesn't matter which place you fall or if you're somewhere in the middle. I think it's really important to know that you can make specific requests. You can ask for things, and Disney's never going to guarantee them, but you can ask for things that are going to make your experience, even if you're just there to sleep, a better one, right? So if you're staying at All-Star Movies and you really want to stay in the Toy Story section, you can request that, because my kids would like that over 101 Dalmatians.
You might have to wait a little bit to get what you're requesting. So you have to be willing to possibly wait a little bit longer to get that request.
But one of the benefits we can get from using a travel agent is that we can call in and put in some requests ahead of time for you. So putting in a request for a specific building location or a room, like on the ground floor, for instance, we could put that in on your reservation. We can also put in requests for themes like pack and plays, bed rails. So putting in those kinds of requests can really make a difference.
Yeah, my trip that I'm taking here soon, we're traveling with a group, and I requested for our whole group to be in a specific building that I found a really good location on resort property. I'm really, really crossing my fingers because I do think that your location can make all the difference in the world. We're not staying deluxe on this trip. We're staying at Caribbean Beach, which I love. I can't wait. If you didn't listen to our pools episode, go back and listen. You know how much I love this pool. So I'm really excited to be there during the summer and get to experience that.
So thinking about when you're traveling with kids, though, especially when you're traveling with kids, especially knowing things like you're staying at Caribbean Beach Resort, if you have strollers, you're going to want to put in a request for a ground floor room because they don't have elevators in all of the buildings. So you can't plan on your stroller being able to easily go into your room if you're on a second floor room, for instance. But having those kids can really make a difference. And that kind of leans into other things that would be helpful to know if you're traveling with kids, like Rider Swap.
Huge. Rider Swap has made a huge difference in my family. And I can't believe how many people don't know what Rider Swap is or how to do it. My kids are at a funky age right now where my oldest is tall enough to ride everything and my littles are getting there, but there's still a couple that they can't do. And so basically what Rider Swap is it allows my wife and I to both ride all of the attractions, even though our little ones can't. So you're going to see a cast member at the front of an attraction. You're going to use your Magic Band or Magic Mobile, however you're scanning for the park. And they're going to scan 3 people's bands. They're going to scan the 2 people, so maybe myself and my oldest daughter, that are going to be riding first. And then they're going to scan my wife, who's going to be the swap. And what's going to happen is my oldest daughter and I are going to wait in the line, or if we have a lightning lane, we can use that lane, whichever way we're riding. And we're going to go ahead and do it the normal way, ride the whole attraction through. My wife's going to take the twins and do something else. And then when we get off the attraction, I'm going to go with the littles, and she and my oldest are going to return, scan their bands again. And they're going to actually, no matter what, even if, you don't need a lightning lane the second time through, you don't have to wait in the full queue again. So she and my oldest are going to get to go through the lightning lane. So my oldest is not waiting twice, and the family isn't waiting through 2 entire rotations of the queue and the attraction. So the second time through, you go through the lightning lane, you get to ride it. And then you have one kiddo that gets to ride twice, which is super fun for that kiddo. And then both adults get to ride. So they make sure that if you have a funky situation where not everybody can ride an attraction, you can still make it so all those that want to. And it doesn't have to be a height thing either. If you want to ride Tower of Terror and you have somebody that's, a little scared and doesn't want to get on, you can do it for instances like that as well.
Listening to you talk about they're tapping your Magic Band, I'm like, tapping your Magic Band? My kids are teenagers. And so it's been over a decade since we've done the Rider Swap situation. And mine was you would go up and you would get a ticket. They would give you a piece of paper that was bring this back when the other person has gone on. And gosh, what a great technology that they can now use your Magic Band. And right along with that, the idea that they're scanning your Magic Band, you don't have to have a Magic Band. There are people who wonder, do I have to have a Magic Band to go to Disney?
That's a good point.
You do not have to. It makes it convenient, especially if you're staying on property, but you do not have to have a Magic Band to do Disney. You can absolutely use a card. You can use your phone. There's lots of options. Magic Bands are fun. I love them, but not required.
Yeah, not required. But I think in the column of what I wish I knew, I would put a note that says Magic Bands make life way easier. Not necessary, but definitely convenient. You guys use Magic Bands, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I can say at this point, I have a Magic Band, and when I walk up to the thing, I still end up scanning my phone because your Apple Wallet makes it so easy to just scan it. You know, you don't even have to unlock your phone for it to act as your Magic Band or as your ticket. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've never used my Magic Mobile. Maybe I'll do that next time. So we did an episode a while ago all about Disney transportation because it's so complicated that it deserved its own episode. So we won't dive too deep into it here. You can go back and listen to that episode, but that is absolutely a what I wish I knew before I went. How am I getting from point A to point B? What transportation services, which resort, which transportation services, which park? Disney Springs, how are you getting all around? Because the reality is that staying inside the Disney bubble means that you're going to have complimentary transportation wherever you want to go. But what that looks like is going to vary.
Yeah, knowing which parks you can do monorail. I was actually thinking about this very thing when you were saying you were changing on the Skyliner to go between the parks. Like how complicated it could be. Where is the Skyliner taking you to? Which resorts can use the Skyliner? Knowing that there are monorail resorts, there are Skyliner resorts, knowing that Animal Kingdom's just going to be a bus. Plan on it.
Yeah, when we were doing that park hop from Hollywood Studios to Epcot, when I changed on the Skyliner, which was pretty funny, we took 3 different ways to hop. We had a couple girls that drove. We had some that took the boat, and then me and a couple girls took the Skyliner. The girls that drove, I think, got there first, but I don't recommend driving and having your car because that was inconvenient and they actually didn't even like doing that. We made it right close to when they did, like within 5-10 minutes. The people on the boat, it took like an hour. It was way longer than anything else. So knowing kind of what is going to be efficient is also important because the boat is fun, but they were way behind. I mean, we were like a champagne flight in by the time they made it over to Epcot.
I feel like saying the boat is fun is an oversell of the boat. It is loud, it is slow, and it is sometimes hot. The boat to me is if you like boat rides and you like being out on the water, by all means take the boat, let it be an experience. But I'm never taking the boat as a number one choice, except if I'm staying at Wilderness Lodge, I will 100% take that boat to Magic Kingdom.
That boat is fast. You can get the boats.
It is.
I kind of feel like the resort boats are super fast. If you're staying at not in the boardwalk area, the Magic Kingdom boat resorts, I feel like you can get there super quickly. I don't know what it is about those friendship boats over in the boardwalk area. I feel like they're so slow. Yeah, they're bad. They don't go quickly at all. I just feel like you go from one resort to the other, and then I don't know, you stop everywhere in between. It's a lot.
Speaking of that boat, though, like there are similar boats that take you across Epcot's lagoon, and I equally am not going to wait on that boat. You can easily walk around World Showcase unless your feet are killing you.
That's a ridiculous boat. I don't even know why that's there.
It is so slow. It is so hot. Like, no, don't make me do
This is
it.
the point of view of 2 people who have clearly never had a champagne flight in France and then needed to get over to Guardians really fast. Don't call that walk easy until you've been in my shoes.
Yeah, but
okay?
don't call getting from France to Guardians on the boat a fast commute because
I did not
Champagne flight before they go on Guardians.
I did not call it fast, but I am calling it necessary sometimes.
okay.
Yeah, I think just kind of knowing what transportation you have available to you, how you're getting from park to park, don't try to take the Skyliner to Animal Kingdom. Knowing things like that are going to be so important for your trip. And knowing how to stack your park hopping. Like if you're going to be somebody that's park hopping, we did the story I'm telling you right now was Hollywood Studios to Epcot. That's such an easy hop. You can do Hollywood Studios to Magic Kingdom, of course. There's buses that are going to take you, but I do think that there are better ways to pair your parks and kind of having an understanding of the lay of the land and how the transportation connects everything will help you sort of strategize how you're going to be hopping and how you're going to be navigating in that way.
For those of you that are driving to the parks and parking, if you're going to hop, it is highly recommended that you drive to the other park that you're hopping to, because if that park that you hopped from is closing earlier, then you will likely have to Uber back to your car. You won't be able to get back to your car at the end of the night via Disney transportation.
Yeah, so you have to drive. Like our friends drove from, and they were like bummed to have to go drive. And
no, it stinks. But what stinks more is at the end of the night having to get back to your car and not knowing how you're going to do it.
Yeah. not good. You got to really understand your transportation and understand all of that. I think, people are constantly asking as well about rope drop. That's a Disney term that everybody needs to be really aware of. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to dive a little bit into that.
Hey, wait. I know you're ready to get back to the podcast, but I've got something very simple for you to do. Join my Facebook group, Disney Planning Made Simple. I'm Stacy, one of your podcast hosts, and I have a sweet, friendly Facebook group made for those of us who thrive in the simple pleasures of life, things like family, food, and Disney. Join at facebook.com/groups/Disney Made Simple or follow with the link in the show notes. We'll be so happy to see you there.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
All right, we are back once again talking about what you wish you knew. This is, I think, some really helpful information. Things like quick notes, tips that are going to make your trip just so much smoother. We're talking about rope dropping. Rope drop is a term that most people that go to Disney know, but some people don't understand what it is. Explain what rope drop is.
I'm going to let you do it, Becky, because I have messed this up so many times, and I'll explain more.
Okay. So rope drop is getting to the park and taking advantage of those right when Disney opens, or if you're staying on property, you get the hours or the half hour before the park opens to really take in those morning hours. So rope drop means you're there when the park is opening. It is being there ahead of time. It's not scanning in when the park is open. I don't want to say run because you're not supposed to run at Disney, but people will get there and stand at the rope in order for them to drop the rope, and then you run to whatever it is you're going to do.
Is that really a thing? You're not supposed to run at Disney?
I assume that they don't want you to run at Disney, maybe.
Absolutely not. You can't run at Disney.
You can't?
Can't run at Disney.
I mean, I've definitely run to a lightning lane.
And there is 100% a whole thing called Run Disney. But I think you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that at designated hours. And how many people are I'm 100% walking at my Run Disney event. So there's that too.
Okay, so here's how I've messed this up. And it was like one of the last things you say is, so I thought that rope dropping meant being at the park when the park opens. So I'm at Magic Kingdom, say the park opens at 9. I am ready to scan in at 9. That is not the case though. They're letting you in, an hour early sometimes to Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, so if you're an on-site guest, whatever time the park opens, you get in 30 minutes early. But even before that, you're like riding 30 minutes early. On our spring break trip, Animal Kingdom's posted wait time was 8 a.m., which meant that as a resort guest, we could get in, technically opened at 7:30. And I can very vividly remember looking at my phone, checking the time as we were walking to Pandora to ride Flight of Passage in Navi River. It was 7:11.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you're getting in early. They're starting that scan, they're starting that process, and just sort of knowing what's open during that time. Because it's not just a free-for-all in the park for 30 minutes. There are specific areas that are open during rope drop, that are open during early entry, I should say, that you're going to get to experience. And you can really knock a lot out, but you have to know where you're going because you don't want to run the wrong way. And
I feel like it's really easy to mess rope dropping up.
Yeah.
And it's not arriving on time, or it's going to the wrong place, going like rope dropping something completely silly like Carousel of Progress.
Right.
I did that once. You know what I mean? Like you have to be really strategic, just like everybody else is likely going to want to go to the same spot you want to go. Like if you don't want to buy a individual lightning lane for Seven Dwarfs and you're not willing to wait 2 hours for it, then you need to figure out rope dropping, and you're going to be rope dropping Seven Dwarfs at Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, that's when you're going to not run to do your brisk walk back all the way to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That's a great thing. And understanding when you need to leave your resort. right? So transportation starts running from your resort, typically in most cases, an hour before the posted opening time. Right. So if I want to go to Animal Kingdom by 7:30, I'm probably leaving my resort room by 6:30, 6:40. I mean, you're getting out there pretty early.
And that's some people's reality. And like to each their own. If you're a morning person or this is like your one and done Disney trip, be there for those rope drop hours because they really are among the best of the best in terms of being able to accomplish so much with the littlest weight possible. However, when I was talking to McKenna, she's my middle child, she said her favorite tip about like what she thinks people should know is one, you don't have to be at the park all day. Like you can get a lot done if you're there for the rope drop and then take a break in the middle of the day. And then she also said, don't follow the crowds. So if you're there for rope drop, don't just follow what everyone else is doing. Some of those other things, not Carousel of Progress, Carla, do not go rope drop Carousel of Progress. But there are other worthy things for you to get on and you can accomplish a lot if you don't just naturally just follow the crowd to the same line.
Definitely that. And 30 minutes to an hour before posted opening time, you're going to be able to get transportation to the parks. Skyliner's going to start running, monorail's going to start coming, buses are starting to make their rotations, things like that. And then after the parks are closed for the night, an hour, 2 hours beyond close, you're going to be able to get transportation back to your resort. So a lot of people start stressing like, I have to get back to my resort. That transportation is running until the last guest is out of the park.
What I see a lot of people asking too is like show times, the evening shows, Fantasmic. Fantasmic is normally playing at like 9 p.m. and the park closes at 9 p.m. and people are, they're always wondering like, how is Fantasmic playing if the park's closed? Well, that's like, it's pretty normal. Luminous at Epcot is also playing at park close. So that's totally fine and totally normal. So don't be, confused by that.
Yeah. And sometimes you really want to pay attention to the time that the park is closing. Like sometimes Happily Ever After at Magic Kingdom will happen at, let's say, 9, but the park might not be closing till 10. So even after fireworks shows, like you have to use the My Disney Experience app and check your park hours because it's a mass exodus at the end of Happily Ever After. Main Street is wall to wall people rushing to the buses. Those lines are horrendous. But sometimes the park is still open. And sometimes you can go ride Haunted Mansion and you can ride Pirates or whatever you want to hit again. And they're still running for another hour sometimes. It's important to know your park times and know your transportation schedules and that there is a bit more flex in the schedule than you may realize.
I love those end of night hours. They're actually what I would consider my rope drop time because I am not a morning person, but the end of the night, especially if they have hours past the end of night spectacular, are also going to be lower crowds because parents are taking their tired kids home or back to their rooms. And also the end of the night, knowing that you can get on a ride up until the point that the park closes. So if the park's closing at 11 o'clock, you could walk up the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at 10:59 p.m. and get in line and you're going to get to ride the ride.
Yeah, we need to normalize rope rise instead of rope drop. That's my preferred hours as well. And shout out to Staying Deluxe, just really fast. We've talked about this before on the show. It made me think of it because you said if the park is closing at 11, we have stayed deluxe together before where Magic Kingdom closed at 11 for all guests, but then extended evening hours started for deluxe guests. And we actually arrived. I remember we walked into Magic Kingdom at 10:45 at night. And it was like, this is the coolest ever. That is such a unique experience. It's so fun to be walking in at 10:45 at night and know that we have over 2 hours in the park just to kind of like run an empty nighttime park. I mean, that's amazing. It was so fun. Another thing just to keep in mind, know what perks come with the resort you're staying at. And again, just being so mindful of the hours. We're talking a lot about parks being open late, but sometimes there'll be a random day where there's maybe an event or something happening where a park will close early. And you don't want to be blindsided by that either. So studying those park hours ahead of your trip is so important. What about show viewing locations? Is that something that you think is really important for your trip to know ahead of time?
I think knowing if the show is important to you is important and having location in mind if it is important to you. If you just want to see fireworks, there are some remarkable places that crowds won't be gathering. Remarkable, I know, I hear you. Oh, goodness.
We'll get
You
through an
can
episode without Becky
so
calling something remarkable.
remarkable. Okay, so watching the fireworks over by so where the Pirates of the Caribbean meets where Tiana's is, you can sit there and there's nobody there and you can watch the fireworks beautifully with you hear the music, you see the fireworks. It's amazing. But you're missing so much of what Happily Ever After is if that's where you're choosing to watch. So know what you're trying to get out of it. So the location, if you want to get the full experience, you need to be in the hub or on Main Street somewhere along those things for that particular show. So location is definitely going to make a difference in your experience for the show.
Yeah, recently a lot of people have been talking up watching shows from the back of the castle. For little kids that might be overstimulated in crowds or a little bit fearful of fireworks, but watching the show from behind the castle can actually be a great solution for you, but you are going to miss out on a lot of the elements that make the show, right? So I love the way that you put that, knowing what's important to you. What's important to me, and for any smart moms, travel agents listening today, the hidden Mickey will be emotion. Shows are what bring out the most emotion in me. And standing directly in front of the castle for Happily Ever After and those first notes hit, I'm bawling my eyes out. And it had been a while since I had seen Happily Ever After from Main Street or from the hub. We typically will watch it, like sometimes we'll watch it at the Polynesian Beach or, over at the Contemporary on the roof there. But it's been a while since I watched it just down in the park. And I did, and it was instant. The first note of music hits, the voiceover starts, you get that one little firework, and I was just bawling my eyes out. And so for me, the shows are about just kind of bringing all of that together. That's the Disney magic to me. That's what it is in a nutshell. So I think show viewing locations, we've talked before about Fantasmic, and if you have the wrong seat for Fantasmic, it can really kind of, in my opinion, ruin the show. Knowing what shows you want to see and what you want to get out of them, so crucial.
That moment you say when the first notes of Happily Ever After start playing is your emotional moment. The beam of light, that big like pow moment in the beginning of Fantasmic is what gets me. And then it starts with the lights raising, and it's just like sitting here, I have all of these like chills just thinking about it, because the musical score of Fantasmic is everything to me. It's my Disney why.
Yeah, I love that. What about understanding how to strategize when it's the best opportunity to eat? Understanding when to eat and ride during non-peak times and what those are is going to also make your trip better.
It can be very stressful if you have a family of 5 like mine and you're trying to find a place to sit while you're eating. But if we had just come a half an hour earlier or an hour later, plenty of seating for my family. So that's not something that I think you can necessarily know exactly what those are, but know that noon's going to be busy for lunch. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is going to be busy for dinner. Like if you can strategize your dining a little bit earlier or a little bit later, I think it can really relieve some stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and strategizing, character meals for non-park days if they're at resorts, because it is going to eat up quite a bit of your day that you could be enjoying at a park.
We love doing a character meal on a non-park day because of what you just said. If you have a down day, I do think that trying to strategize a resort character dining in that day is a better option, just because you are going to eat up multiple hours. You're getting such an awesome sprinkle of magic sprinkled into your down day, even more when you go to Topolino's or Chef Mickey or Ohana on a day that you're not going also to a park. And that also just kind of segues into thinking about downtime. Have your character meal. We talked on our rest day episode about starting with a character meal is a really great way to do your rest day, but also just planning built-in downtime, whether it's in the middle of a park day or it's in the middle of a long vacation. You need downtime to stay sane.
It's huge. Not only do you, but your kids more than likely need it too.
Disney knows what they're doing with putting in things like playgrounds in the parks. They know that kids need that space and that time. Adults need that space and that time. And I think it kind of speaks to our culture in general right now is leaning more into mental health awareness and like just listening to your body. If you're hungry, stop and take a break. Let your kids get some wiggles out, not be standing in line for a minute. And guys, it was like a decade before I realized that the hubgrass was the hubgrass. Like, I don't know how I walked past it for 10 plus years, not realizing that there was grass in the middle of the hub that you can go sit on and let your kids play around. Just at the end of the night after the fireworks are gone, go and sit in the ambiance of the lights and hear the music. Like Disney knows what they're doing and they're giving you that opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And not letting things like rain and weather ruin your trip. Florida's going to be unpredictable. We usually bring our poncho, but they're going to be selling them there. Just being prepared for anything, I think, is really important, and not letting it ruin your trip. Rain might happen, and it's a huge mistake to think that rain will ruin the trip you've been planning for over a year.
Yeah.
No, it's like at Magic Kingdom, they even have a rainy day parade.
Yeah.
They do.
So many people, their first thought is, do we not go to the park today because there's 80% chance of rain? And that means absolutely nothing in Florida. It's likely going to rain and pass and move on, and crowds are going to be lower because of it. Definitely don't leave a park or not go to a park because it's raining. And also on top of that is, don't be stressed out during the, however many months is hurricane season, thinking that your trip is going to be ruined. If a hurricane happens to come up, Disney's going to deal with it appropriately. But don't, I saw somebody in the big group the other day ask, what's the likelihood that there's going to be a hurricane that's going to cancel my Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party? And it's like, I hate that people even think like that, but I understand why they do. But also, please don't. If you're going to plan a trip, then plan it and don't stress yourself out about things that you have no control over.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, my Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party didn't get canceled to rain. And it was raining hard enough that I thought it probably should have been canceled because of the rain. But it is one of all three of my kids' top 3 Disney experiences was the downpour Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. It was different than we anticipated, but we still just danced in the rain and had the best time ever.
Yeah.
I think any of those unexpected things, but you can also plan around them. Like if you're getting blisters on your feet, don't let those things ruin your day. Go to the first aid center. They can really, really help you through any of those things. I walked in and I literally had a blister on the bottom of my foot. And she's like, tell me about your blister. I'm like, it's on the bottom of my foot. And she's like, oh, honey, that happens every single day. Here's this kind of bandage. It's for it perfectly. Like they have something to help pretty much every situation. Similar with the baby care centers. If you have babies and you don't have a diaper, the baby care center is there. If you're a nursing mom, there's a place for you to go and be quiet with your baby. Like all of those things can really feel like overwhelming things for you. You want to be proactive in them, but Disney really does know how to take care of you.
Yeah, and the first aid centers and the baby care centers, like we had a similar experience heading to our Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party last year. My son, he just wasn't feeling great when we arrived, and his head was kind of hurting, and he was so sad because he loved his costume. He was Partysaurus Rex. Have you guys seen that Pixar short, Partysaurus Rex?
Yes. It's awesome.
Yeah, he was Partysaurus, and it was so cute. It was so fun. And he had little glow things he was passing out. I mean, my son is a party, and so it was perfect for him. But he was feeling a little under the weather, and like he was crying because he wanted to stay. So we went to the first aid center, and they had some children's Motrin. And it was, they didn't charge us for it. They gave us some children's Motrin. I gave it to him, and he was good to go, fine the rest of the night, never got sick or anything. But just knowing that those things are readily available to you can really make or break.
I think another thing, because I've had some really incredible experiences with Disney cast members, particularly in that first aid center, but everywhere. Like Disney cast members are there to make dreams come true. And talk to them like they're humans. Don't talk to them like they're just there to take care of you. And they really will go out of their way to make things be extra special for you because they are truly cast members. They're there to be a part of the storytelling of your vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. So many things you need to know before you go.
Do you realize how many of these things we're talking about we actually have a full episode on?
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
I was going to say.
I was going to say, like, if there was something that we talked about that you were like, oh, I really need to know more, you could probably dig through our episode archives and find a full episode dedicated to just talking about that and really understanding in detail how to handle some of these things. Well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Did you know that if you are a Diamond Mind member of our Patreon community, you actually get a monthly planning guide? So if you're somebody that likes to take notes while you're listening or wishes you had a visual representation for some of our episodes, As a Diamond Mine subscriber in our Patreon community, you actually get a really handy planning guide every single month. So I'm really excited about those. And I think if you are somebody that likes visual representation or is planning a trip and needs a little extra aid, hop in that community because that is an awesome value we're giving away. We want to thank everybody for listening. Once again, of course, like, subscribe, follow anywhere you listen. Hit us up in the show notes, today's episode, if you're looking for help planning your next Disney vacation. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.